Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, one of the cool things that comes with doing this channel is getting to meet other content creators and getting to do geek out sessions with them. And one of the people I most enjoy having significant geek out sessions with is Braden Langley over at Langley Outdoor Academies. And he contacted me today and said, hey, I want you to check out this testimony from Pam Bondi that she just had before the Senate and tell me what you're thinking, because here's what I'm thinking. And we went back and forth several times, and I know he's already got his video out there. We're going to link it up down below. I think there is some very interesting things to decipher from Attorney General Pam Bondi's testimony yesterday, okay? I'm going to do my own independent analysis. I'm going to tell you right now that I don't think Braden's off base at all. I think there's a lot to take from here. So let's break it all down and we'll give you our 2 cents. So today, let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about how the ATF DEA merger gets more ridiculous by the minute. Okay, America, one of the many things that gun owners nationwide have been all spun up on, either in good ways or bad ways, but this one in a bad way, is the proposed merger of ATF and the DEA. Translation, taking two already overinflated and incompetent government agencies, combining them, and somehow or another figuring you're going to end up with something better than what you had before. Now, the Trump administration was trying to do that through the budgeting process, translation, reconciliation. There had been all sorts of speculation, and we'd even mentioned here that, hey, listen, there is no way you're going to be able to just merge two federal law enforcement agencies through budgeting. That's going to take an act of Congress. And the parliamentarian in the United States Senate has ruled that way. So it would appear that any proposed merger, I get that the Republicans can override it, but any proposed merger is likely not going to actually happen. But I want you to pay attention to what Pam Bondi had to say, because she was testifying before the Senate today, and she was peppered on all sorts of different issues. So we're only going to get into the issues that deal with this ATF-DEA merger, because I want you to listen to what she has to say. I want you to pay attention to what she doesn't say, and then we're going to try to connect some of the dots for you. So, in pertinent parts, when Senator Van Hollen, who I thought did a very nice job questioning her in a very professional way, when Senator Van Hollen questioned Attorney General Bondi about this ATF-DEA merger, this is what we got.
First, with respect to the proposal with the ATF, I've heard your testimony here. I heard it in the House, so I really don't want to get into a I'm not questioning you about the policy at this point in time. I think you hear there's bipartisan disagreement here. But I do want to understand your view with respect to the appropriations law, because current appropriations law does require congressional authorization to make this change, to make this merger. And so my question to you, as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States, is will you comply with the budget authorization law?
We will comply with the budget law.
Okay, so it would appear that Attorney General Bondi, at least publicly, is stating that if that's what the Congressional Budget Committee and the parliamentary determines, then they will have to comply with that, which means that the likelihood that you're going to see a merger of ATF and DEA through budgeting process is pretty slim, okay? And I know that has a lot of you probably pretty happy. I want you to pay attention, though, to what Attorney General Bondi then says when she's, trying to placate the senator here, but I want you to pay attention to what she says following that.
Senator, I'm glad you brought this merger up, because if I was still a state prosecutor and hearing this, I would be concerned too about what's happening to ATF. ATF will keep its brand. DEA will keep its brand. But what they're doing, they're going under one umbrella, doing away with the bureaucracy at the top. These agents are going, they want to be out hunting down criminals. That's what they want to do. They work, so much of this work is the same work, going back and forth. And now they will be working collaboratively together to keep America safe. And they are...
Okay, according to Attorney General Bondi, then the ATF will keep its brand. Don't know if that's a good thing. The DEA will keep its brand, and they are just moving under the same umbrella. What umbrella is that they're not already under? It's the umbrella that's labeled Department of Justice. Okay, so I'm not necessarily sure what's going on here. If this is some kind of, we're going to get rid of the bureaucracy at the top. Are we suggesting for 1 second that if we merge two large gelatinous federal agencies, that we're suddenly going to be able to, peel a bunch of bureaucracy out of the top of it? All right. So what is this talk that's going on about this merger? Why are we even having this discussion when this is what the Attorney General is saying, is that they're going to stay unique, separate agencies. They're going to keep their brands, good, bad, or ugly, whatever that may be. They're doing that. But then the other thing she points out is that, and this is true, is they are essentially oftentimes doing the same work. As a matter of fact, if you go out and you take a look at any of the ATF press releases that they like to release out of their field offices every week or two, hey, look at all the awesome stuff that ATF is doing, you will see that literally every single one starts with either local police, some local task force, the FBI, or the DEA conducting an investigation into drugs or other types of criminal activity, when lo and behold, as that investigation pops open, there's a bunch of guns involved, and what do? Then they call the ATF. So are they doing a tremendous amount of crossover work? They are, and I want you to keep that in mind. Now, I want you to pay attention to then, as Attorney General Bondi gets, a little squirrely with Senator Van Hollen again, I want you to pay attention to what she says here.
And hopefully we will make America safer as a result of it.
Well, I will say that wasn't just my reaction to the proposal. I was actually hearing from ATF agents as well. So again, we will obviously review that question in a bipartisan way on the committee, but I just wanted your assurance, and I appreciate it, that you'll comply with the appropriations law, which would require congressional action in order to go forward with that.
We don't need congressional action for this move, however. We don't need congressional action for this move, however.
Well, I thought I just got clarification. Well, it's going to be important to both the chairman and myself to understand your position as Attorney General on whether or not you can proceed with this merger without congressional action.
We are keeping ATF, we are keeping DEA. We are putting them under the same umbrella within the Department of Justice.
So I'm not arguing with you here. I want to understand your position. I think it will be important to members on both sides of the committee. The appropriations law currently would require that Congress approve of this merger. And so my question to you as Attorney General is, do you agree with that or disagree with that?
We will complete this reorganization, and I'm committed. I will look at that under the law. We will not violate the law, Senator, and we will work with Congress regarding that.
No, I appreciate that.
Okay, so then Attorney General Bondi says we don't need congressional approval for this. Well, here's what you don't need congressional approval for. You don't need congressional approval if you're not doing anything with the agencies. Okay, so if the agencies themselves are staying put, then yeah, you're right. She doesn't need congressional approval for that. But we're moving them under the same umbrella. Folks, they're already under the same umbrella. These are all under the Department of Justice. So where exactly is she going with that? Well, the last senator to question Attorney General Bondi, they had the following exchange, and I want you to pay attention to this.
Senator, thank you for saying that. I've had the honor and privilege of working with, I believe, the brightest lawyers in the entire country in the Department of Justice. Not only our incredible U.S. attorneys, but in our civil division, throughout our criminal division, throughout every division in the department. But yes, the U.S. attorneys are second to none, and they are out there tirelessly fighting to keep people safe. I think what a lot of people don't realize is when we talk about FBI, DEA, ATF, all those cases from conception are being done hand in hand with the U.S. attorneys, even in the investigative stages. You only see them in the courtroom after the cases have been made, but that's of course not true. They are working tirelessly, and they are the best of the best, and our law enforcement officers are the bravest of the brave in this country.
Okay. The FBI, DEA, and ATF all go hand in hand, and the DOJ works closely with all of them in the investigative stage. Now, here is the concern that is being raised by some. if we're going to leave these agencies put, but we're going to allow DOJ to have more control, especially in the investigative wing, would that permit the interchanging of investigative officers and agents between department to department and for various purposes? Is that a possibility of what they're working on? And some of you sit there and go, well, that would be awesome. That would be great. Let me ask you two questions. Number one, do you really feel good about centralizing power beyond just the administration of justice, but actually into the investigatory phase of the criminal justice system? Do you favor allowing the United States Attorney General to monopolize and inherit more and more power? Okay, because that is pretty contrary to how most conservatives and or libertarians think. The other thing is even if you think this is a great idea, because then we can go after all the crooked politicians, we can go after all the people who allowed the border to be open and all that, which I get all of that is true. But put yourself in a time machine 4 years or 8 years from now when there's a President Gavin Newsom and he's got somebody just as bad or worse than Rob Bonta as the United States Attorney General. And now we have consolidated not only all of this investigative power, but all of this law enforcement power into this enigma that is now the Department of Justice. And so, listen, I get that many of you want complete abolition of the ATF. Okay, and I'm not saying it's a bad idea. What I'm saying is it's not going to happen. And if merging the DEA and the ATF requires congressional approval, don't you think the complete abolition of the ATF would equally require congressional approval? And that's approval that you know is not coming. So as we begin to struggle with what are we going to do with a restructured and or neutered and or watered down version of ATF, understand that one of the most dangerous things that could occur, America, is to allow any non-elected official, such as the United States Attorney General, to consolidate more and more police and justice powers under that one umbrella. And then, of course, if they're not doing that, if they're not trying to restructure this power back under the United States Department of Justice, and in particular the United States Attorney General, then we have to ask ourselves, what the heck did we waste all of our time and breath over freaking out about a DEA and ATF merger, which the Attorney General basically just testified under oath before the United States Senate that that's not going to happen? I'm interested to hear what you guys all think. What do you see when you take a look at the tea leaves? What do you feel when you read between the lines? Love to know what you think about it. Let us know in the comments section below. Listen, if you got any questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now. But if you don't, that's okay. That information down there in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, you click on that link right there and you tell us all about it. If you want to subscribe to the monthly newsletter, that information is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, America, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.